So, greetings, everybody tuning in with us now. Today, we dive into organizational culture by Edgar Schein. Dr. Edgar Schein is a former professor at MIT. He's distinguished, highly recognized for his research and his work within organizational development. Over 50 years of research, of in-depth study, and continual learning, and also presenting, and as well as giving his his intersection, or giving his pieces about the intersection of organizational culture as well as leadership. With that said, we're going to dive right into some key points that I found that I want to lift up within my few moments as I break down and summarize our topic or book discussion for today. So when we talk about Schein's summary of his book, when we speak a little bit about organizational culture and structure, we talk about the fact that organizations do not take on a culture in a solid day, right? A solitary day. That organizational culture comes over time, right? That over time, those that are a part of the organization grow accustomed to the artifact, or what it is that people see from the outside, and then it becomes this second level, which is known as the values of that organization. But then there are some assumed values when people and persons first enter into the organization. So right here, these are the three major, or the most important pieces of what Schein speaks about when he talks about organizational structure and even leadership to some degree when we talk about organizations as a whole. How it is that these three levels help to create the behavioral levels of the organization as a whole. We talk about the mission statement, which is that second layer of the organization, right? We talk about the objectives. We talk about the ethos, or the ethics, the code of ethics that the organization has within that structure, right? But those ethics and those ethos, they may not meet what it is that people first see when they walk up, or stumble across, or they may be a consumer of the organization, or wanting to draw near the organization, right? That first level is that level that people see, which is the artifacts. That is what people would generalize the organization to be. But once you get into that second level, we see that the organization is called, or foundationally created to be. And then that next level is the assumed or the assumption level, right? This is where the values are assumed. Actually, the organization truly is, right? But this assumption may become something else, or actually may steer to the left or to the right, right? So with that, the culture of a company and the organizational structure starts with the leader and flows through the company. The company cannot have a stable or functional culture without the leadership helping and molding of the company's culture. One thing I would like to insert right here, when we talk about company culture, we talk about not the changing of one's attitude or the changing of behaviors, but we talk about how it is that a culture more so works with the objectives and the goals of the organization to increase, or to enhance that organizational structure. And once we tap into organizational structures, and we continuously build on the goals and the objectives, and we exceed the goals or objectives, or succeed at meeting those goals or objectives, we start to create a culture of, right? And then within that culture, we find what it is that we're looking for as it relates to that organizational structure, this new level, or this new layer of artifacts, what people start to see. But then also on the inside of the organization, what the organization, the people therein start to believe, and then the assumed values will have a different output as well as a different input from those that find themselves within the organization. Some things that I would like to say that were very convicting to me were the simple fact that this is more about the inner person to some degree, yet the influence by the way that the directors, the supervisors, those that find themselves at the top management have to live out to help guide and to progress, as well as to lead the organization internally, is so very important, right? So with that, we once again talk about how it is that change behavior is not congruent with a changed culture. Just because an organization changes the way they do things, that does not necessarily mean that the culture they're in has fully found itself not only stable, functional, but also progressive in the nature of what it is the organization wants to become, right? Okay. The sum total of everything an organization or a company has learned externally and internally is that culture for that organization, right? Its goals, its objectives, the external view from those that see the organization, those consumers, right? But then the external life of the organization is what those visitors see, right? But then the internal is more of the root system, right? If we were to look at the example that Schein lifts up to us, we talk about looking at lilies, right? He gives this example about lilies and how it is that when we see lilies from the outside, we see the beautiful blossoming of it. But then also, that's just the artifacts, right? That's just what we can see. That's what we can gauge from the outside. That's what the consumer sees. But then when we tap into the values of it, where is it deeply rooted, right? The values, we start to see where they may start to cross, and different things may start to go this way and that way and this way and that way, uprooting, right? And then if we go just a little deeper, we start to see the assumed values of the organization, right? Where we first took off, right? From. So with that, that is just my brief synopsis and summary of what it is Schein wants to get across to us when we talk about organizational structure. And I hope that you would engage with me, give me feedback, and I can't wait to share more insight with the questions that you all may have. Thank you all so much.